suppose there has been I guess, a bit more focus on the Currie Cup, where there's the sort of lack of international rugby. Guys need to fill their rugby appetite. So how have you seen what's your take on how the Currie Cup's shaped up so far?
Yeah, I mean, interesting start. There's only been 4 rounds, so obviously a long way to go still. Just starting in the Western Cape, obviously a few question marks over the province team. They haven't looked fantastic to date, as Rob alluded to. John Dobson in charge, first season as Currie Cup coach at Western Province. They're 4th at the moment, hanging on to that last sort of playoff spot. Doesn't look like they're going to host a semi-final or even a final. The Bulls and the Lions top the log, 20 points, full house after 4 games, looking really, really impressive. But we sort of expected that. The Lions team never really that hurt by players having to leave to play for the Springboks rather. And the Bulls under Nollis Murray, new coach there as well, playing some fantastic rugby. They had a good win this last weekend. They were Griquas. The weekend before looked really good against Western Province as well. And then sort of at the bottom of the table, you got the poor Kings, who did really well, I thought, this weekend against the Sharks, but fell short again. The Pumas sort of there or thereabouts, but not really knocking over the big names, and then the Griquas as well. So it's a bit of a top half, bottom half at the moment. Although the one team that I expect to do a little bit better now is the Sharks. I think Kubis, Ryan coming back, Marcel Petio, I thought was a massively unlucky not to make the Springbok squad, and he's back in the mix, and these guys will obviously have something to prove. I mean, and at the same time, sort of be an eye on anyone gets injured at the World Cup, that they might get a last-minute call-up. So very interesting, very early days. Still a long way to go in the Currie Cup.
Rob, there is a list of players that are on standby, but it hasn't been made public, has it?
That's right. It's a tricky one, quite a precarious situation, especially for South Africa, because as you know, you can only really replace players in the squad if they go down with specific injuries during the course of duty at the World Cup. The World Rugby is going to be aware that the Springboks are taking a lot of walking wounded guys to the World Cup. So they're not going to be very partial to South Africa suddenly deciding that, oh hello, we need another scrum half, because Farid du Preez, surprise, is looking a little bit crook. So it's a tricky one, and you can understand why South Africa would keep that sort of under their hats at the moment, because they're not quite sure from one position to another where the need might arise, given the sort of question marks over so many players in so many different positions. But I would be guessing that certainly people like Heinrich Brousseau, I would imagine, has had a whisper in his ear that he needs to be on standby, given that if we suddenly find ourselves short of Fetchers or Francois Lowe, who's another one who hasn't played for a while, and we're waiting to hope that he is going to be ready to take his number 1 open side position in the side. But if they suddenly need a Fetcher, then I would imagine Heinrich Brousseau would be a standby man. I'd be very surprised if someone like Frans Steyn, who apparently had quite an emotional sort of chat with Heineke Meyer when he was told he was not going, but did stress that he would be available, and be on the first flight if they needed him. And of course, he can play in so many positions that he seems another ideal guy to be on standby, even though we don't have access to this list. So you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and get a picture of which players might well be sort of keeping themselves in good nick, if you like, for the possibility of flying over.